go deep into the realm of the unknown and question everything as we search for the truth. We will explore the possibility of countless phenomena within the ultra spectrum, and together we will learn that it is all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association, and it is a live stream broadcast. If you have a question, send me a super chat or become a YouTube member. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. Take a seat, relax, get ready, and welcome to Beyond the TinFoil Hat. Hello, everybody. Let me put the right one on there. Welcome to Beyond the TinFoil Hat. Today is Thursday, October 27th, 2022, and I, Ryan Stacey, am your host this evening. I'm a licensed private investigator, citizen journalist, and the Director of Investigations for the Experiencers Support Association. Welcome to the channel, and thank you for joining us this evening. A special thank you to all our YouTube members who help keep this program and others free for our experiencers. Remember that as a member, you get to ask your questions live here tonight. For all you non-members, you can super chat or send a tip on Rockfin or ask questions to our guests live. Every little bit helps. If you're not a member, we'll talk about it in the super chat. So the after chat. After the 2-hour mark, CC and I maybe will have the after chat, and we might lose that after chat tonight because we have a special guest. So you know what? We're going to skip it. I think we talked about that afterwards. So no after chat tonight. Our guest for season 4, episode 34, third time on this show, holding the record for return, is Captain Randy Cramer. Captain Randy Cramer has served more than 30 years for the U.S.M.C.s.s, United States Marine Corps, right? Secret Service, Special Services. Yeah, something like that. You'll correct me. The Covert Military Space Program branch of the U.S. Marine Corps. He was the first covert space program soldier to come forward more than a decade ago. He has spent most of the last decade educating the public on covert space program affairs and current policy affecting the disclosure of the existence of alien life. He is currently working with his partner, Kendra, to build the University of Conscious Evolution from the huge success of the beta run of their meditation and psionics course last year, which is what we talked about on our last podcast. The goal of UCE is to teach the easiest and most straightforward scientific techniques for meditation and psionic self-mastery to the entire world, while providing as much support as possible to give every student a maximum opportunity to learn and apply the skills of self-mastery. All right, you can find the link in the description as well. It's on the banner below, and there's also a link to last year's podcast on that too if you want to catch up later. So Randy, put on your tinfoil hat. Welcome back. How you doing, Cap?
I'm good. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for being here. Thank you, CC, for setting this up. Awesome, man. Yeah, so let's just do a quick recap. If you want to just tell people that may not know who you are, and then just do a quick summary, and then catch me up to speed.
Sure. So it's been about a decade-ish or something like that. It feels longer sometimes. I guess in some ways it probably has been. But since I've been doing this, my brigadier general asked me if I wanted to be the PR guy, which I said no. But he convinced me after a while, and I said, okay, I will. So I started talking about my personal experience personally, which was to be genetically engineered, trained from a very young age into a soldier program, a covert military space program, augmented soldier program. A lot of people like to use the term super soldier. That's a civilian vernacular. We don't ever internally use that. It's augmented soldiers or augments program. Deployed at age 17 for a 30-year tour. And then this is where the sticky part comes in. At the end of the tour, they bring you back, stick you back in your timeline 15 minutes after you left in what they call an age reverse body, but it's a fresh body. They transfer your consciousness from one to the other. I know that's like jumping over a subject that some people go, wait, but that's a thing. Quantum fluid dynamic. It's a fluid in a container, can be scooped out, siphoned out, put into another container. We can talk about that another time or more, whatever. And then relive sort of your life as you were supposed to. I mean, this is the weird part of how to kind of get away with it, is you're reliving your destiny, or they're not really taking away your life. They're borrowing you for 15 minutes and then putting you back, and it all gets, as far as temporal like paradoxes and stuff are concerned and so forth. That's how they kind of avoid all of that. So anyway, returned after my tour, recovered memories after really starting about a 10-15 year period, about after 7 to 8 years of bits and pieces coming through. I was like, okay, there's something in there. I got to dig it out. And it took a few years. And then after about 10-15 years, I'd say I was at total recall. And then just working that out personally in my personal life, when I was approached by my brigadier general, who said, "You want to talk publicly?" And I was like, again, we're back at square one of this story. And I was like, no. But then he convinced me after some chatting about it. And so here I am. So I've been doing that for a long time now. And mostly just trying to explain a little bit about the programs, a little bit about how that works, and then try to talk about what's happening, policy things that are going on. We're talking about space issues. I've spent a lot of time talking about that, but we've gone through so much. At some point, it was like, okay, we're in a scenario, explain the scenario: pandemic phase, civil disruption phase, World War III phase, invasion phase. So when we've talked about that, I think we're still well in, moving through stage 3 before stage 4 happens. But then really so that's the sum up of what I've been doing and my history. And that's probably my least favorite subject to talk about, just because I don't like talking about myself nearly as much as some people probably think that I do, as much as I talk about myself. It's not my favorite topic.
No, but I appreciate you for doing that, because we need context for those who may not have heard of you before. Just so a lot of there are 2 other shows where we do dive deep into the mechanics around that, how it's possible, all these other things. I did already interrogate, if you will. So we're kind of moving forward.
Oh, and I did pass a polygraph for everyone who we haven't talked about that. I did get put to a polygraph about this and did pass a polygraph. So, I got that going for me.
Well, you passed the Ryan Stacey test too, because your 3rd time running. Like
right.
I said, usually people get 2, maybe. I don't know about this one. Usually it's 1 shot and that's it.
Fair enough.
So there's that too. So, okay. So
good for you. There should be better vetting in this community of people, but don't get me started about that. We don't need to back in.
So, okay, let's talk about vetting then. So since we don't really have a scripture today or a structure today, we're just kind of catching up and having a general conversation. For me to vet something like this, it's impossible to get true data that would be able to confirm or deny the possibility. There's so much circumstantial evidence that has been discovered. This story that this experience that you're sharing, whether it's real or not real, could be real and not real at the same time. You could be telling the truth and lying at the same time. There is absolutely no way for me to know that, hands down, unless it happens to me.
Right.
But this idea...
Let me interject super quick. I've always said, and I will say this again, if it hadn't happened to me, I would be in your same shoes going, what evidence really do I have? Proof, circumstantial. I would be skeptical and doing the same thing if it hadn't happened to me. So absolutely.
And I don't know if we talked about this before, or this just might be just piggybacking off of last week's podcast where we were kind of heavy in onto the PTSD at the end. But when the way you said you were gone for quote unquote 15 minutes and then spent 30 years doing whatever, then you come back and you're in this new body, but you're still living with the visions and the trauma and all these other things.
Right, every day.
So the symptoms are there, and that's common with abductees. That's common with that. So, this phenomenon, that could be an explanation of what's actually happening, being removed and then replaced and then living with the damage. And with my experience that I've had, I don't have any visions of anything of quite to the extent that what you're explaining. But I mean, after that moment happened to me, I'm feeling things and understanding things, and I'm learning things that I feel like I know that in this life I just learned for the first time, but I've known it all along, you know. So that doesn't mean what you're saying is true. What that means is I can relate to it, and I'm also trying to understand how it's possible. Because if it's happening to me, happened to you, happened to some of our experiencers, I'm curious to know how they're getting away with it. And, you know, so that's my thoughts on that. Where do you want to go from here?
Wherever. So I guess we'll just go a little chronologically. What I was going to say before you told me that, which is excellent a point, and there would be no one that I would be critical of who said to me, I have questions. Totally, dude. I would have questions. I get that. Ask all the questions you want. I have submitted to any and every test. Anybody wants to give me more polygraphs. Folks at Gaia keep teasing that they want to do the voice stress test analysis, which I'm super down to. But apparently the guy who does that, there's like one guy and trying to get him to be there at the right time, they've had some issues with, but I'm fingers crossed like that they'll want to set that up. We're trying to make that happen. So I'm fine to be scrutinized in any way because I have nothing to hide. And all I do is relay things as I recall them, as I remember them. That's really the best I can do with anything. So when someone asks me a question or asks me about what I remember my experience, just calling it how I remember it and whatever that means, right? I certainly know my experiences are visceral, traumatic, transfer to this physical body too, in ways that if it wasn't legit or real, I wouldn't think that it would transfer to this physical body in real ways. So, I mean, I have my own, I had to go through my own process with this, believe me, where I was remembering things and things were happening. And then I was like, I don't know about that. I'm not so sure about that. So I had to go through many years of I'm skeptical. Okay, maybe. No, I'm skeptical. Okay, maybe. No, I'm skeptical. Okay, maybe. Before I felt like I had enough of my own mental, personal, whatever evidence that I was accumulating in front of me to go, okay, I think I can call it good at this point. I think I'm good to proceed as if this is all correct because I got a bunch of information that says yes, and not nearly enough what would need to be the appropriate contradictory information that should have accumulated in this pile if there were other things along the way that would have accumulated in that pile of data as well, right? But it didn't. So I didn't find a bunch of other things. I found a bunch of stuff that led me that way, and I had to sort it out. But I was super skeptical of my own experiences in the beginning. I think any sane person should be.
Yeah, and that's it's been a doozy for me, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So as crazy or unusual as it sounds, once you've done it, how do you feel? Does it feel negative? Does it feel positive? Do you feel like you're doing the right thing? Not only know it.
Okay, ask me that question again. I'm not. I heard the words, but I'm not sure I understood what your meaning behind that question was.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to get a sense of your overall feeling when you start to listen, and you start to do, when you start to act on this information.
Oh, sure.
How do you feel doing it? Because that will drive, how you trust it, I guess.
Sure. No, yeah, absolutely. I would say that, I was experiencing severe anxiety, depression, PTSD symptoms from something. And I had a friend who was a psychiatrist who was kind enough to go through the DSM-4 with me and check symptomology, which is not the best guess, but it's what we had at the time. There was not enough symptomology to check off on anything other than 18 out of 19 boxes on the PTSD chart. So even a medical professional looking at symptomology hit the PTSD mark, not schizophrenia, schizoaffective, delusional disorders, or any of the other, disorders. If you wanted to say, well, if it's not real, then you just must be crazy, right? Well, I'm asking myself that question for years in my 20s. Wow, am I just a nut bar? Because it kind of feels like maybe I've lost my fucking mind here. But I went through it step by step. I had to be my own kind of as much of a rigorous empirical scientist detective as I could, in trying to be objective while still being the person that it's all happening to. But at some point, basically, if I treated it like, well, maybe I just need medication, because actually my friend who was a psychiatrist, he was like, I was like really complaining about a lot of the depression symptoms, anxiety symptoms. And he was like, look, go see a doctor. There's stuff that can ease the anxiety. There's stuff for sleep. There's stuff. He's like, it's okay to have a parachute while you're, going through an experience. He's like, you don't have to feel like you're being medicated, because you're not saying you're going to take a bunch of psychotropics, antipsychotics. You're just saying, maybe I need an anti-anxietytive. Maybe I need a sleeping pill. Maybe I need a couple of things so that I can just manage whatever the fuck is happening and sort it out. And none of that ever really helped much. When I just kind of accepted, wow, this is really trauma-based, and I dealt with it as a meditator and with other people, healers, to help out as if it were trauma-based, I got better. And so that was really a testing point. It was like, well, if it's mental illness, I should treat it and it should get better. If it's post-traumatic stress disorder and I treat the trauma, it should get better. And it just ended up going through the trauma treatment process. I got a great therapist at the time, a fabulous person who actually had worked with experiencers and who was just a very traditional, like, by the book. Okay, this is how we deal with figuring out what's going on. This is how we get into your own memory core to find out what you got in there. Oh, there's some trauma in there. This is what we do to help sort out trauma. And yeah, I started to sort it out and feel like a human being. So it was that black and white. If I was like, oh, maybe I'm crazy, nothing helped. If I was like, oh, maybe I've got trauma and worked on the trauma, I would almost immediately start to see a lessening of symptoms. And all the PTSD symptoms got better the more I treated the trauma. And when I finally treated enough of the trauma, all the symptoms gone. So I'd say that's a pretty solid,
And after that happened, you still have the ability to do these things.
Oh, yeah,
ability
absolutely.
And this knowledge, and that's important too. That's a thank you for sharing all that, because that is a process.
Well, and let me say two things that were advice from a doctor, from a longtime person who'd been a psychiatrist for many years and who was a friend of mine, who gave me two of the best pieces of advice for anybody trying to sort out what's happening in their brain with an experience that they think may or may not have happened. Right? He said, look, first things first was when I talked to him, I said, look, I don't know whether I'm crazy or not. I might be. And he said, well, actually, that's a good sign, because asking yourself the question if you're crazy is something that sane people do. If you're not asking yourself the question at all, that's what crazy people do. Crazy people never ask themselves the question whether they might be crazy. They accept immediately that whatever's happening must be real. And I'm not trying to tell people to be super skeptical of their own experiences. I'm saying it is a sane thing to question it immediately, to just question it. He said that's a perfectly sane thing to do. The other thing he said was that when you are treating real trauma, right, and you are asking yourself questions about what's going on inside your brain, what's happening with the experiences, says it's not nearly as important to get to the root of what experiences is real, because it does happen that people have other experiences that they're putting a blank of an experience on because there's something, traumatic. Often childhood abuse and so forth can turn into layers of people saying, oh, I remember this trauma happening or this happening, so that they don't have to get all the way down to the bottom trauma. It's like, so it's not important necessarily to get to the absolute truth of what happened. What's more important is to recover from the symptoms and the experience of the trauma so that you can dispassionately look at your experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And then one other thing that came with that, which was mental health episodes are more often episodic than anything else. If this is a thing that has been consistent, on your mind, on your brain, that you have to deal with every night, every day for weeks, months, years at a time, that is not a sign that it's a mental illness. Mental illnesses are episodic. They come in waves for people. But if this is a thing that's been like plaguing you as an experiencer or as a person who may have had some experience and you're questioning it, if it's been at you every day for months and years, that's not a sign of being crazy. That's a sign of like having something that was so traumatic that part of your cellular structure and your central nervous system is still in shock every day. And when something like that is chasing you, you don't have to come up with the answer right away, but focus on the trauma, focus on trauma healing, focus on dealing with that. Then you can dispassionately look at your experiences and what's happening and get to your own truth. And that's what matters. That's what matters.
That's very important, and that's what we're trying to do. We want to encourage, people to survive, to get through all of this, and then try to develop, if possible. So for me to relate to that, how important that is, when I get cases come in, I oftentimes I have to see these markers or look for these markers or identify the markers. I can't diagnose, but I can't also assume it just with the information that comes forward. But I need to at least understand enough to know that some of these things may come into effect. And then you ask these questions or rule some of these things out to kind of gauge, but you never know. And sometimes I could get to a position where I'd be like, hey, why don't you check to see if a doctor can clear these? And some are willing to do that, some are not. And it's very touch and go on when the opportunity to ask that question is for me, because I need to build that relationship, and that could ruin it. But it's also important depending on how far that experiencer wants to go. Where this is kind of important, and what's leading to this this new program that new university is like, there's kind of like, once we refer people to help with the trauma, to understand the trauma and accept it, or start moving towards a goal of living with it. The next stage, the third and final stage, is developing the psychic ability or working on the psychic ability. So this is kind of good time, because in our process, we've collected a lot of resources where we can refer people to help when these markers are there. But we're not really at a point where, once that's done, where do they go next? Right? So I'm going to use that as I skipped our icebreaker question, but I kind of framed it in here because I think this will be good to throw in. And then I'm going to ask you to talk about this new idea, or this new venture that you're in. So CC's icebreaker question is, through your present understanding of things, what is your opinion of the nature of reality?
Interesting question. So I'm going to go with my personal experience on this one, only because I've had a few different times of moving from reality to reality in such a way where I felt like layers had to come apart before the movement could happen, and then layers have to sort of unravel before you can come back. And it's a pretty weird process. I'm just going to call it a weird process, because what else do you call something that you feel like, in order to make happen, layers of reality have to deconstruct themselves so that you can make that movement, and then other layers have to reconstruct themselves around you as you enter into a different reality. So I would say that there's a framework, certainly, that is all math and all energy and all light. It's a framework. On top of that are layered the physics and matter composition of that reality, which, depending on where you are, will depend on exactly what and the variance that has. So if we're talking about us in this reality, so at our core, there's some kind of matrix of light math that defines everything. And then there's a matter that's mapped over the top of us so that we can interact with stuff, so that I can pick up a mug. Because if I'm just light math and the mug is a matter, I can't interact with it. And there's all kinds of reasons why we might not be at the level to be just light math interacting with other light math, and why we need matter as an intermediary for like all kinds of things. That's a complicated topic if we want to talk about it. Why do we need matter as an intermediary to slow all of that down and slow the process down and make us have to work harder through it? There's reasons, but I digress.
Why does matter matter?
Yeah, but it does, right? And the reason is it slows down the process so that instead of things happening so super quickly, it slows it down in a way that we can really think and experience it and think about it and process and feel stuff about it and really absorb the experience of existence. But as far as people like to say, so I'll answer it this way too. I've heard people out to say, well, we're in a hologram. We're in a hologram. I would say not really. We're a hologram with matter mapped over the top of us. So if I stab your matter over and over with a sharp object, your matter will die, and your energy matrix, light math part will go, oh, I can't be there anymore, and it will have to move somewhere else from where the connecting with the matter is. So yeah, one is like the core of where maybe.
That's kind of the nicest way you could describe murder.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
So it's not. So it's real to say, yeah, we're just light math. It's a hologram or whatever. But it's also super legit to say, with some kind of matter mapping over the top of that is completely significant, because the minute that stops working, your light math part of yourself doesn't get to interact with shit anymore. It doesn't get to do anything anymore. And that kind of ends whatever you're doing. So because we need matter, we need that matter interaction. We need that mortal coil. We need that physical matter mapping on top of that light math to interact with it. So reality is both of those things. It's not one or the other. It's both. So reality is the coexistence of a light math holographic structure that is completely interfused with a matter overmapping that is destroyable, burnable, stabbable, shootable, plasma blastable, and all kinds of hurtable. So I think people can try to say, the physical body's not real. And it's like, get stabbed a few times and it's going to feel pretty damn real. So I just think that it's absolutely both at all times. It's never one or the other. You can't just say we're just physical matter or we're all just energy and light, because neither of those things are true. We're both at the same time that are inseparable until you die. And so they're both true all the time.
Okay. I'm just waiting for this pop up here. So one of our members had said, thank you. So Cece, thank you, Randy. You have a gift of explaining complex things simply, and yes to duality always. Yeah.
There's a whole, we can have another conversation about what duality is and why we have to have it and why it's absolutely positively necessary for the stage of evolution that we're going through. And that it's not about returning to a unified state at all. It's about moving on to something even more complicated. But
do you want to elaborate on that, or
no? Because I would need to draw a picture to like explain it visually, and then like spend at least 30 minutes trying to explain conceptually what that experience might be like.
Okay,
that's a long answer. That's a fun one. That's a fun topic. But,
it's all good. Okay. So last we spoke, you were in the kind of the building stage of this idea that we resonated with. And then we were also in a building stage at that point too. And we were working on things, and now we're ready to go. And it looks like you're ready to go at the same time too. Serendipitous, coincidental. All those things are meant to happen. So walk me through the process, I guess, through the time in that last year up to this new announcement, and then we'll get into that.
So we're super excited. Let me start with that. And I mentioned earlier that talking about myself is like my least favorite thing to talk about. And my favorite thing to talk about is the work that we've been working on, which is really teaching, education, getting people tools to like really simplify and scientifically easy breezy lemon squeezy-ify the meditation process, which is the key to everything. It's key to all psionic development, all self-mastery, and that the more that we have worked on these lectures, worked on the course, just the more of our own experiences have been like, oh, actually, this would probably be the better way to say that. This might be a more simplified, easier way to present that. And we've just continued to hone this process until we've now got a 2.0 version of our beginning course that's up that we're super proud of. And we basically had redone the beginning course. There was an advanced course that was also part of the old course. We were planning on redoing that, which we're still going to do. And then we were like, oh, we need to do a manifesting course, and we're going to do an emotional self-mastery course. And we're going to do, we just started having all these ideas for all the stuff that was in our heads, that now that we had this opportunity to teach it in a way that we could really be clear, concise, and helpful, was just super inspiring, to be honest with you. And so we've just been at it nonstop, grinding at, working with the graphic software and the editing software and the video software to do all the stuff up and make it pretty and nice and fun to watch and presentable. And we're super duper duper excited about it. The old model, though, which was based on a friend helped me set up the original course and set up the whole model, which was a selling it by the course model. And that's an older model, which did fine. I'm not saying that it was a terrible model. It worked fine as far as what it needed to do and what we got out of it and all that. But we continued to find a problem with accessibility, which by that I mean everyone being able to feel like they had access. And so the more we've done, we've got a new amazing student who turned out to be a business expert, has 5 of his own companies that he started as a marketing expert, was like, I really want to help you take this course and do something with it. And so we've had a marketing director now who's helped us think about all the redesigning and stuff that we wanted to do, and really got us to a place where we're like, okay, this is exhaustive doing this way. And he was like, you know what? I got another idea. How about you charge a subscription, something super easy peasy and cheap that everybody can afford, that, you can just like not go out to eat a couple times a month or stop drinking Starbucks, and afford it for anyone who's on the margins. Because again, we want it really accessible, and then just let everybody have access to all the content for a monthly subscription. And we went, oh, that's a fabulous idea, because we want to teach, we want to talk to students, we want to interact with students, we want to be able to create more content, lectures, presentations, so that we can help people work through all this stuff, rather than spending all the time trying to create sales packages. That was just a waste of absolute our time. And so this makes it way more accessible, gives everybody access to everything. And it's really about how much, can you absorb in a 4-week period to make it worth your $99. And then we're just constantly adding stuff forever, of course, is our plan. And so, we hope people will stick around, because we'll keep throwing stuff at them. And that'll include 2 Zooms a month. We're going to have an open Q&A for everybody. All subscribers will get to have an open Q&A Zoom with us, and we'll just answer questions for a couple hours, whatever, a couple times a month. Plus a bunch of other stuff that we've got up on the website that we just decided to say, you know what, let's make it easy. Let's make it really accessible. And let's just charge a door admission for the month and let everybody go crazy inside and have everything. And so that was like 24 hours ago. And we've basically got the class transferred over from the old platform on Teachable over to our website, almost 100% now. Got a little bit more to go. We've got the new subscription membership stuff all up. It's all launched. It's open. The doors are open. People can just show up now and sign up and get access for that. We're super stoked. So he turned us around in 24 hours. We've changed everything, and we just are happier than we could be about it because we want people to have access. We feel that the fundamentals of meditation, brainwave mastery, the fundamental tools, psionic self-defense are not just things that people should have because they can afford it, or they can afford to drop a few $100 at a time or $500 at a time or whatever they can drop. We feel like everyone should have access. There's so many people that need it. And so we just want to make it really reachable. And so we're stoked that we came up with a plan, that our marketing director, FJ, came up with a plan because he's brilliant, that made us feel just better about everything. So we're stoked. So so one more, I'll just add one more thing to that. This is our whole thing, dude, is what we want to do is basically it all starts with meditation as a fundamental building block for everything else. So we've broken it down into brain waves, basics, right? It's a few steps. If anyone who's never done it before, anyone who feels like they're plateauing, they're having any struggle, here's 5 scientific steps. Do that. You will get better meditation. If you are trying to work on development, trying to work on psionic development, here's all the secrets really on what you have to do to get that, the practices, the disciplines to make that happen if you put the time in. Here's skill buildings, right? We're teaching basic skills on dowsing, precognition, remote viewing, and my favorite one, telekinesis. Now, this is the one I got to say I'm most excited about because I have been holding this in the back for students. I say, look, I want you to be able to do this. So my plan was get people through the basic part, get people through the advanced part, get them practicing and developing on a daily basis so that after a few months that they've done all of that, they've gone through all that part of the course, when we finally give them the skill building part and say, okay, here's how you build a TK trainer. Here's how you do the exercises. Here's how you do the mental part. Make it happen. Because when I've taught this, the TK discipline in-person classes, I got 100% of the students in every class to replicate the technique after a 3-day intensive. So I know that I can teach people how to replicate the technique and get them to do it. Doing it on an online course was, going to be a little trickier. So I wanted to make sure every single step was laid out for people. Well, you know what? Because we're changing everything, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to build a new TK trainer because the one I have has a wood cap on it, which someone skeptical would say, there could be some moving parts in there. So I'm going to build one that's all plexiglass that you can see through and everything. So you can see that there's no magnets, there's no moving parts, there's no electricity happening. I'm going to set it up so it has the grid on it with the camera that you can look up through the top. I'm going to do a whole setup for it so I can show that it is as a physics experiment. It is not a magic trick. It is not an illusion. There is physics happening. There is mass moving a distance over time. We'll do some rough calculations on what we're talking about that is in like newtons per second. And we'll do a solid demonstration. And then people can come in and learn the telekinesis technique first thing they want. Now, they probably won't be able to do it the first time because they're going to have to go back to step 1 to like do all the practice shit to get their psionic output to the psions per second that they're going to need to make that happen. But you know what? Everybody wants it. So I've given up on like, here's the path so that you can do it properly, people. Fine. Everyone just wants to run in and, run amok with it. I feel like it's okay because people are going to still just need to learn all the other stuff to be able to do it properly, to be able to make it happen consistently the way that it works. So we've changed everything. And that's what we're doing. So I'm going to have that up probably next week. I'm going to build a whole new thing. We'll put up a video for it. I will demonstrate that it's physics, that there's a physical thing happening, that there's no electricity, no magnetism, no thermodynamics occurring. If there's some other physical force someone wants to explain with, I'm open to the dialogue with it. But we're going to demonstrate it as a physics experiment. So I'm stoked.
I'm stoked for that too, because I can understand the skeptic point of view and the questions that I would ask as looking at it. Good point to make it plexiglass so it can be transparent and you can see it. My question to you is, what kind of table would you be having it on? Would you be willing to also have it on a plexiglass table so that way we can see?
Oh yeah. No, I was thinking about that today.
And all that. Just remove it all together. You can see everything in the room. It almost appears as if it's hovering.
Oh yeah. So basically, the trainer is a glass cylinder with a cap on it. I'll just tell you that right off the bat without explaining more. So it's a contained system. It really needs to be up high enough that I can build like a mini plexi table that can go on top of the table that you can see that there is nothing, anywhere.
You almost have to set up like the world's best magic trick so everyone inspects it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I want to
do. And then pull up
have it all clear, have the cameras, so that you have, make sure you can see everything, that there's a camera on the eyelet so that you can see that there's nothing moving. And I want it to be like just verifiable. This is the data, and there's no fudge. No one's fudging or messing with anything. So I want to do it right. So
would you be willing to let me be the prototype inspector?
I'll tell you what. I basically have it on paper right now of what I want to do. I got to build it over the next week or something. When I got it set up, I'll have you take a look at it. We'll have a Zoom call. You can take a peek and let me know what you think or what you want to do.
We can make a thing about it. Yeah. Cool.
So no, the objects in question, we have multiple objects. We can do different weights. We can even do some different materials if you want, but they're basically non-magnetic, non-conducting parts. But if I have a Zoom meeting with you and I see how it works, and I'm able to ask all my questions, and I'm stumped. Please.
I will endorse the shit out of that.
Please. I want you to help me sort that out, because I don't want there to be anybody to go, oh wait, I couldn't see what was there. I don't want any of that. I want everybody to see that it's super clear, super basic. I'm authorized to only show about 10 psions per second. So that's all everybody's going to see is, a couple of tiny objects wiggling around. But it will be, again, it's physics. It's mass over distance over time that's measurable. And you can see that it's not any of the other things. So it's got to be another non-visible force that's happening.
That'd be cool, especially from an investigator point of view, in terms of me trying to understand how it works. If I know how it works, then that'd be really good. That'd be really good for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Buzzwords that you were mentioning: accessible, easy, inclusive, and reachable. And
yes,
the marketing idea is great on that, and those are good words. Those are things that a lot of people value. And from what I understand, with what I remember from the old model, not that I had issues with it, but it wasn't accessible. It wasn't fully acceptable as it needed to be.
No, it wasn't.
A lot of people wanted it to be inclusive and reachable, and that's where kind of these I want to say trolls, but like these skeptics and people coming in, asking these questions, they had reasons to kind of suggest it, and it created this thing. But now that you've solved that, I do understand that even the cost has been significantly reduced, which also makes it more accessible, right?
Yeah, well, it just solves all the problems. It's less busy work, stupid work, and then all of our time and energy is spent on creating educational content around meditation, psionics, and self-mastery and development and healing.
And if it works, it works. I mean,
I've been teaching this class enough of this content years enough to know that I've had students in every in-person class who were able to, again, to replicate techniques that I taught them at the end of a weekend. And we've been doing the online course enough to see students who are getting fabulous results to know that, we're absolutely doing stuff that we know works because we do it every day. That's why we know it works. But our ability to teach it to other people is also demonstrable and proven. Other people have learned it, gotten it, and are benefiting from it. And, one of the things when I always think about accessible is you're trying to teach people things that help them be a better human being, right? how to be a better manifester, how to be more grounded, how to be more centered. And if you're putting that out of reach for regular people, well, why do rich people need more stuff? Why do they need to be better manifestors? And why do they necessarily need to be more grounded and more centered? How about everybody? Doesn't everybody need these things? And so we've always wrestled with where to figure that out. And based on true assessed value and how a private school has to be a business model and not, go under, how to make that work. And I think we've solved it, and we're happy with what we've done, and we're thrilled that we can just bring it down the price under $100, make it a monthly subscription, and let people tear through the content, knowing that there's just going to be so much more coming for a while. We're not going to be done creating stuff for this site for months and months and months. And it's just going to be more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. So we're stoked. We're really excited about it. This is what I like talking about, because this is passion work for both of us, where we want to be able to see people take tools and just improve some shit by honing a few basics, because our experience collectively and individually is just, when we work with clients and people over the years, we just find it's basics and fundamentals that people are missing. It's basics and fundamentals in psionic self-defense that people are missing. It's basics and fundamentals in clearing and focus that people are missing. It's basics and fundamentals that are how you get the job done, instead of what a lot of crap people are given. So we just find that we're always doing what we've just turned the class into, which is, here, let's just talk about how it is, step 1, step 2, step 3. I would like to think that I've done my best, and I know Kendra's done her best with the beginning course, to make it so that a 12-year-old could do it, that a 12-year-old could watch it, understand what we're talking about the brain, brain waves, brainwave states, theta states, alpha states, and breathing slow in order to be able to do meditative states. A 12-year-old could do it. And it's a thing that is also for everybody. There aren't special psychic people, special psionic people, special gifted people. There are people raised in environments where that was more acceptable. They weren't repressed with that, and people who are raised in environments where they were told, stop talking to your imaginary friend, stop talking to the cat or dog, stop, telling me you're talking to ghosts or whatever. That's your imagination. You can't do that, and shut them down at a young age. Everyone is capable. The human Terran brain, everyone is capable. All you have to do is exercise it. It's a muscle, and it's weak. It's like a little baby arm that can't do shit. But if you exercise that thing, it will get stronger, and that psions per second, your output increases, and you actually can do stuff. That's proven, demonstrable, physics, science, and we're just all about the step-by-step process and all the information that people need to know to figure that out and do themselves, right? Clear themselves out, meditate, figure themselves out. You don't need someone else to guide you on your path. We just want to give people tools and say, go nuts.
And so
people to be on their own path, to be self-mastered, not for us to tell them what to do. We just want to show tools and say, please have fun with that. Make your own operating system out of that. Do what works for that. But here are things that we know work. And if you add them into whatever you're doing, shit will get better.
And that is a philosophy of what I'm trying to do with building my investigation part, to teach people those fundamental tools to properly investigate, so we get actual, better evidence and all these other things. There's a comment in the chat that is not a member thing. It's a little negative, but I want to address it. And he says, if you care about the people in the world, you need to give it away for free. So my opinion on that is that that's wrong. And not everything can be free. And this information, even if I were to compare it to myself, where I'm teaching specific skill sets that are fundamental, that everybody knows, it's time that's put into that. It's energy, it's expertise, it's experience from over the years. That's what you're paying for. But if you want to learn the basics and the fundamentals on how to do anything, you can Google that for free. This program right now is free This time is free. So there is a lot of things that people get for free, and a lot of people get bent up because there's a cost for it. This stuff is always been free. Even when we get into masonry and stuff like that, they think we keep secrets. They're not secrets. The stuff that's out in the world, we just learn what to look for when we come back outside. So this concept of no one, there shouldn't be an issue with anybody providing a service and putting a dollar amount on that's reasonable to be paid for your time and energy to provide a specific spin and expertise on a very important subject. So I don't know if you want to elaborate more on that, or I might have had that covered.
Sure.
Because I take offense to that too, because I charge for services as well.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to hit that with what I think are some serious, easy nuts and bolts arguments to that question. Number one, when rent is free, food is free, gas is free, cars are free, travel is free, internet is free, when everything else has no cost, then as someone who is creating information or trying to pass on educational information, then I can create it for free. But first of all, I can't create it for free, because in order for us to create it, we still have to pay our rent. We still have to buy food. We still have to put gas in our car. We still have to live above the poverty level so that we can actually provide this information, people, just bare bones. So first of all, no, because, you know, stuff isn't free. So I can't give that shit away free, because everything else isn't free to me to live, right? Just first of all. Two, we got tons of free stuff and content that we're offering and that we want to give to people so that they have information, so that they have useful bits that are real, tangible stuff that they can use. Also, in a hope that they will come and sit down at the table and get the bigger meal, right? Two, the second part of that answer is also no. If you want to actually take that information and make sure everybody sees it, no, you don't just put it online free. Because if you put it online free, not everybody's going to see it. Some people are going to see it. A few people are going to see it. If you want everybody to see it, that takes marketing, right? We're not.
It takes a lot of money.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. That's why we have a marketing director now. Yeah. So because I've seen the numbers that we've had over the last year and a half, which have been good based on, I mean, I've had all of the business experts who I've talked to look at what we've done, what our response is, the number of students we've had, and I've went, wow, you have a really successful online course compared to what other people are running and how people have to get successful at that. You're doing really great. And my answer has always been, thanks, but this reach of students is not nearly high enough for me. And again, that's not about, I want more students to make more money. It's like, I want to reach more people. I want this information to get more people. How do we get to more people? I finally got a marketing director that says, well, you got to spend money to make money so you can spend money to reach people. So our goal is to reach millions of people a month with this information. To do that, that's not free. That's not free at all, right? So in order to run an educational operation, a private school, right, which is what this is, a private education institute to try and educate people, give them that access to that information, make it available, let people know far and wide, hey, over here, because otherwise, who's going to know? In the infinite amount of information that's on the internet, if you expect to just put something up and people will find it, not enough people will find it, a few people will find it, but not enough people will find it. You have something that you honestly feel, and in this case we do, people need, it's good for them, it will help them, there's no downside to what you are trying to bring to people. And so how to meet that with, how do you get to the most people? How does the private school also be a business that survives, that can do more marketing so that it can reach more people? How do you do that? That's what we've been figuring out for the last year and a half. And I think at this point, we figured out the best way we can do that in a capitalist society, which is a subscription fee per month that brings it down as low as we can for the average person's monthly budget, giving them as much access as we can for that, so that we can also put that into our business budget and make this grow in such a way that we can get this information to the millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people that we'd like to have that information, that if we just tried to put it up online and give it for free, would never have it. So no on all accounts, because the stuff isn't free, and that's not how you reach a maximum audience.
All right. So thank you for sharing that. And I want to segue into one more question before we do our commercial break. With what I'm curious to know is next steps. So like the future world where people do take this course and they learn these skills. For me, as an investigator, they learn the skills. They learn to investigate anything. We learn these skills. I take your course. For what purpose am I taking that? And what do I do for the rest of my life once I learn how to do that? How is this applied, to the real world? How do I apply it?
Okay. So this is my favorite part about this, right? Is that you're fundamentally talking about a path which treats your brain and your mind as a muscle that you have to work out and exercise on a regular basis. If you decide as a person who lives in the world, it's a tough world out there, and you want to be super jacked so that you can handle a tough world. And so you go to the gym every day and you get super jacked so that no one pushes you around, right? But you do that by going to the gym every day. It doesn't happen if you think about it and you go to the gym once a week. It happens if you go to the gym every day, you'll get super jacked, and then you're just more effective in the world physically because of how you can interact with the world on a raw physical level, right? Because we're talking about your brain and your mind, we're talking about exercising that every day and letting your brain and your mind get super jacked, right? By exercising in a way that really builds real brain power. IQ, EQ, PQ, psionic development, capacity, mathematical ability to do instantaneous computations. I mean, the things that happen with true mental development is this gets smarter. This gets better at everything. You get better at communicating from your conscious brain to your subconscious brain. And your subconscious brain has an IQ that is hundreds of points higher than your conscious brain, than your beta brain. So however smart you are right now, which is pretty smart, some of us, right? But, pretty smart. Let's just say pretty smart. Let's say you're pretty smart. Your subconscious is hundreds, not 100, hundreds of points IQ-wise higher, smarter than the part of you that's smart. Okay? So the part of us that's in our subconscious is our super brain. It's so much smarter than we give it credit for. It's much smarter than we give ourselves credit for. So, and people, okay, how do you access that? How do you get into your subconscious? Meditation, your alpha bridge, so that your beta can talk to your theta. Your alpha bridge, I'm giving you short, quick answers, which is what we talk way more in detail about the course, so that you can access your subconscious more regularly, more consistently, with more clarity. When you can do that, you get super brain stuff that starts to happen. We also talk about this process that to really do this properly, you have to understand that the mind and body are one. You have to understand that you have these things called psionic foci. People call them chakras. We call them psionic foci. When you deal with the mind-body experience and mind-body development, not just working out your brain muscle, not just working out your mind muscle, but working out your energy body muscle, that's when everything benefits. And I mean everything. You become a superior human being. You level up, right? If anyone who plays video games, dude, this is how you level as a human being. You want to level, you want to start a perk tree going somewhere. This is how you level from level 1 to 2 to 3 is by doing this mental brain work, mind, body, energy work, but in a way that is really about how do I develop every day? How do I actually get psionically jacked? And the answer is you do some basic stuff, but you do it every day. That's it. And we've laid out a path that's just do this shit every day And that shit will happen. Your brain and your mind-body experience will get super psionically jacked, and everything you do, everything you experience, every aspect of your communication, your understanding, your job, your work, your creativity gets better. Everything.
There's nothing wrong with that as long as it's used for good. So we'll pause right here, but we'll continue after a message from our sponsors, which is ourselves here. And if you're listening to the audio-only version, head over to youtube.com/the Experiencers Support Association to see the video that goes with this audio. You are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, a podcast by the Experiencers Support Association, and this is a new commercial. This is their second time airing that, so sit back and enjoy, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. Have you ever wondered, or maybe just thought to yourself, if there were others just like you? You know, people with extraordinary abilities, psychogenic advancement, and perhaps unique intuitions. Maybe you just wondered if there were other people who experienced unimaginable, unexplained, or even unusual and paranormal events. Are there people who have more questions, more fears than answers? Well, you're not alone. You've never been alone. We believe you. Sign up for EA today.
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis and was really taken by his research. He's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada. And just as interesting, he really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. Note for starters, don't edit your videos or photos before you send them. If you want to hear more follow-up conversation between Ryan and myself, you can go to richardolamembers.com, where we have a candid conversation on ufology, the paranormal, and more. And remember, while we learn and grow and search for the truth, let's be good to each other.
All right, welcome back. You are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. Have you ever experienced an unexplained event involving the paranormal, UFOs, extraterrestrials, dogman, or any other paracryptid? Head over to our website, www.experienceyoursupport.org, and submit a report. But the others who have already reported, be that example that proves we are making a difference. And if it wasn't for these reports, we would not be able to do what we do. And for that, we thank you. And if you're wondering where to get a cool hat like this, you can get one at TinFoilCap.co. Every purchase made goes to support the Leak Project. Thank you, Rex Bear, for this hat. Awesome. All right. So that last commercial was E-Day. And we haven't really announced it yet, but I think we should announce it. I think are you attending this, sir?
Oh, yeah. I believe we got back to you guys in time about doing our lecture for you. Yeah, I believe we did.
All right. So yeah.
We've been so busy. I know it wasn't it was on the bottom of our to-do list just because we were so busy. But I believe we got back to you and said, "Yeah, we're totally stoked."
You're on the list. So this is a surprise for those who are actually tuning in. We'll be making the official announcement on Monday. But so let's get into. I got your website up here.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to walk me through it as if I was.
Hit escape.
Escape.
That just gets us. You signed up on our mailing list and watched the video.
There we go.
And, there you go.
This is what we want to look at. So walk me through here.
So
and tell me about the product. Here we go.
Yeah, that's the website. Kendra did it. It's amazing. And that's just if you scroll down, it's just explaining what is in the course, what we're offering for the subscription price now. You're just getting everything that we're doing. And there's just a list of shit if you go down on what all that stuff is and all the stuff that's coming that we have planned on the docket to get done and add to it.
Perfection.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it. And then, there's a tab bar or something up at the top that talks a little bit about other stuff that we're doing. We do individual consults for people sort of sorting out some specific stuff. And, we put up links to interviews. We've been posting pretty much daily stuff on our YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Again, easy, beasy, free stuff that we think is fun to talk about and valuable for people, and obviously promoting the university and courses too. But now we're doing a little bit differently, so all that's just going to shift. But we're just going to keep putting all kinds of stuff out there because we've done the beta enough for this that it's ready to just be an adult and put a bunch of time and energy behind and like I said, really get it out there so that it's super widespreadly accessible for people.
Perfect. The site looks good. It's 110% better than the last one.
Thank you.
I love this moving background is pretty good too.
Yeah, I'm not capable. I'm a caveman when it comes to new computer stuff. I was the first generation that got computers when they were like in junior high, but so I've had computers my whole life, but just trying to figure out how to design a web page is like, just don't make me think about it. But
I did tell you that last time you were on the episode, we could help you, but you went on your own and you did well. So good job, sir.
No, we actually kind of asked for a bunch of help. But then the more we started figuring out, like, can we just do this on our own? Can we figure this out? The more stuff we just figured we could do. And it was there was a little learning curve, but if we took the time to do the learning curve, then it would be just more independent and we didn't have to rely on other people to fix and tinker and do stuff. So that was a lot of our motivation, was to just do it all in-house and so that it's super independent and we just don't need a bunch of other people to make things exist.
It's also cheaper.
Yeah.
Okay, so Super Chat came in. Dan Jones, thank you so much for sending that donation. I appreciate that you were helping us keep this free for everyone else. So he gets asked a question for Super Chatting. So his question is, will there be a time for Randy to talk about his experiences in the military covert space program? I know you've talked about it.
if you've got a really specific question that's not going to take me too long to answer, I mean, people can throw those a question about something specific, but I have no just fireside stories to recollect about it at this point in my career. I've talked about it so much. I don't need to talk about it anymore. But if someone's got a specific question, they can throw it out.
Well, see, Dan paid $5 for that answer, so I'm going to say, Dan, ask another question, and then we'll get Randy to answer it. So your $5 is worth it. All right. You're going to have to answer it. He's paying for it. Come on.
Hey, it throws me a good one. That's not going to take too long. No.
All right. Be more specific, and then we'll ask that question there. Well. So, have you had a more recent experience, or is it just the one and done?
Be more clear with that question, please.
Has it happened since the last time we talked about it? Your experience in the space program. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure I'm just not really what to say about any of that right now. It's okay. It's okay if you don't know.
Let me just say this. There's a lot going on right now in the world. Behind closed doors with covert military space program activities. There's a pretty hot war happening right now. The Nazis, the Schaben loungers, have decided to fire actually first shots across the bow. So they've started the global planetary war for the world among covert military space program extraterrestrials who get involved. That shit started. But when you all see it as civilians, may take a minute, but we've certainly seen and gotten to experience a little bit of it already, including getting some major medical work done after a pretty serious attack in which we got an ET med team to do a really fascinating procedure energetically as far as repair and sort of cleansing of the energy body, which was just like, I mean, it really felt like anything that I ever thought that I knew about energy clearing, the human body of sort of the channels and the processes. What I experienced makes what I used to know before that look like banging rocks together. And the experience was absolutely like, what you can do what that fast? What, are you kidding me? Like it was shocking and stunning that it was just an experience of capability that was beyond anything that I'd previously experienced, and therefore beyond what I sort of even thought was possible, even with more advanced tools. I knew there sort of had to be, but my personal brain experience was just like, wow, that is beyond anything that I could have imagined, sort of as the outcome could be. So our health has been great since then. Oh my goodness. We've been two of the healthiest people we've ever been in our lives since that happened. And there have been some briefings. So we've had to spend some time, like not just a few hours, but like a lot of time getting updated briefings on sort of what's going on. Nothing I can tell you about or talk about, but we've been busy and there's some shit happening. So
okay, well, thanks for entertaining that. He did clarify. So you wanted to know if any of those experiences involved extraterrestrial. Have you seen ET?
I'm sorry. Say that question again. Now,
he's to clarify. He wants to know if during any of your time, if you've seen extraterrestrials. Like, can you confirm the existence of extraterrestrials?
Okay, so dude, you're gonna have to like familiarize yourself with my career. This is my answer to our friend here, because all the time that was the beginning to the end of my career was interacting as a covert military space program operative, mostly in combat with extraterrestrial beings of different varieties. So that's my whole career, dude, was shooting and killing aliens that we decided were bad ones for 5 minutes or more.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you. Joanne Kiefer, sorry. Thank you for the super sticker. Awesome, enjoy. Okay, dude. I have a list of, different, I don't know if these are courses here. That was in the thing here, but I have a list here that says meditation and brain development, psionic self-defense, and dealing with psionic attacks. Those might be some topics that you enjoy talking about.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, it's fun and interesting because we've had to be so good at it from having to deal with it so much. So and because again, helping people sort their shit out, one of the most important things we find is people are just getting inundated because they have really like no good psionic self-defense. And so teaching people that is usually one of the most obvious and best ways to get results in someone that we're working with is teach them good psionic self-defense.
Are you able to
almost
provide
immediate improvements with people who just start putting up good shielding?
Are you able to provide a small sample without giving away too much of your traits there?
So there's basic technique, there's an advanced technique. It's basically, we start with spheroids as a shape that we're working with as a geometrical shape. The advanced technique is different geometric shapes, and you're basically using them as a self-contained space around your body, your brain, so that you are contained. And we go through a specific protocol and a meditation for it, but basically it can be whatever you want. It can be whatever color, shape you want. It's really
Uh-oh. I don't know if he froze or if I'm frozen, but I see him frozen right now. So, Cece, can you comment to see if he's frozen or I'm frozen? Might be having a bit of a technical difficulty. Yeah, he froze. Okay, well, hopefully he gets that fixed and he can see it. Let me see if we can send him a message. Or for those listening in the background, no, he's frozen. Randy, you're going to have to fix that. So to fill this space, oh, he's gone. So he'll probably come back. All right, well, while we're doing a filler, let's bring up his website again. I'm going to bring up his website, and then we're just going to look through it until he gets back. Sorry, guys. Maybe the psychic ability, the psychic power just got so strong there that he froze his computer. All right. So now offering open enrollment and tuition for University of Consciousness Evolution with Captain Randy Cramer and Kendra Sowell. Membership with UCETD is our way of reaching out and meeting people where they're at. We know times haven't been easy, and it's not simple to drop hundreds of dollars on courses with all of life's obligations and uncertainties. That's why we're responding with this membership program. Come on, Randy, hurry up. All right, well, Cece, are you able to pop in like without the video on, just to carry a conversation while we wait for Randy? Can you be a team spirit since you're there? Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you. Come on in here. All right, I don't know how long it's going to take. So if we can reach out to him, hopefully.
Yeah, I was just trying to log into the admin just to see if I can find the emails.
All right, well, give me something to talk about. What are we talking?
Well, I thought that was pretty interesting so far. I do like how he answered the icebreaker question, because it's kind of like how I see it too, like layered, like just layers of plexiglass that you kind of shatter through, like he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Nature of reality.
Well, it's perspective too, right? Like, I mean, who knows what's real and what's not real? There's so many different things. I am interested in that invitation that I kind of threw myself into to actually analyze it. His little device there to see if I can, throw in a little an extra layer of skepticism to see if it can be debunked. I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah, well, it would be cool if you did try it and it maybe did help you too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who knows what'll happen? Maybe, like, sometimes I just think if you hear one certain person say something a certain way, it just clicks for your brain. Like, everyone's brain's so unique in a different way. We just gather and absorb information in different ways, right? So I like that Randy's approach isn't cookie cutter and that he is like just the statement alone, like I meet you where you're at. That's super
Mm-hmm.
important in almost every aspect. And just the acknowledgement that trauma stores in the body as memory and it offers energy blocks that restrict your energy flow and your access to, higher information and source connection. I think is a huge thing that people overlook and try and bypass because it's genuinely the hardest part.
Mm-hmm. Were you able to send an email to him?
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
perfect. So no, it's okay. So now we know that's working. I totally lost my train of thought. Actually, you know what? Let me get to some questions in here. There's one person did ask, and I think we can talk about too. This person, Capt, had popped in and said, "Where's the proof of service? No documents of him in the army." Asked some real questions, letting people push fake stories. Ryan, I think of the gullible that believe good and Cramer. So since that's directed towards me, I'll take that because for one thing's for certain, I have not interviewed Corey Good, so I can't speak to that because I don't know who he is. And what I mean by that is I haven't talked to him yet. Proof of service, I have military service and it's locked up and I ain't going to provide it. Anybody asks for it, you trust it or you don't. I don't really give a shit. So if it's locked up, it doesn't have to be provided. Those things are kind of out there. Now, as far as the story goes, it as I mentioned before, if you tune in at the beginning of the podcast, it's hard to verify because if you compare the way the experience happens, not just the information that's retrieved, the way in which the event happens, nothing happens, then something happens, and then all of this stuff is happening as a result of it. That is common between all the experiencers that I've been investigating and researching. So there is something going on, and it's not too far off from this thing that's going on. And a lot of people may not have extreme events like he has explained, but other people have explained or conveyed visions of technology on other planets or extraterrestrials in the same way. We don't know where this information is coming from. We don't know how they're receiving this message. We don't know when in time this message is coming in. So it's really hard to get proof and empirical proof. And it really depends on what you need that proof for. What's that?
Oh, you froze on my end, and I thought maybe I was the only one. Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay. So it really depends on what you need that proof for. So it depends on the standards. So if you're trying to prove to yourself, it really depends on what you're looking for. Skepticism is good, but how are you going to find that proof? And if you find and determine that proof to be real or not real, what do you do with that information? So I'm not saying that you shouldn't think like that. Just try to think about why you need to have that answer. And if there's enough evidence to prove that, and if you prove that wrong, then what does that mean for the whole thing? So right or wrong, whether he's telling the truth or not, which I can't verify other than experience and listening and going through it and trusting it a little bit, then we can confirm the idea behind it is good. The idea behind it, hello, sir, is to encourage and to empower and to enlighten. So regardless of the way that the event has happened or the experience that has led up to this moment, the intent is behind it is pure from my assessment. And there's no harm in people learning how to enhance their brain and doing good. I don't know how much you heard of that, but I just
about 3 seconds worth. No, my
it's all
browser
good.
crashed and I had to restart my computer. So sorry about that.
It's all good. It's all good. We just kind of fumbled a little bit there, and we were just answering questions in the chat. CC, thank you. Do you want to stay in, or what do you want to do?
Oh, okay. Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Actually, no, give Randy the floor if we want to do an after chat. I'm around.
Okay, cool. We'll do that. All right, dude. Sorry about that. Caught me off surprise. You got all worked up and the energy was there, and then had to do something.
Sorry. Yeah, I was my browser crashed. I mean, it was interesting timing. I'm not paranoid enough to go, they're just trying to shut me up, man. Like, I'm never that paranoid to presume that it's always nefarious means, but it does happen. It has happened a lot over my career, I'll be honest. But nefarious, weird shit in interviews.
What we were talking about before you got cut off there was just like an example of how to protect against psionic attacks.
Right. So you have to visualize shielding around yourself, and you can visualize it however you want. It can be basic, it can be simple shapes, it can be complex, but there are kind of ways to think about it based on the physics of how the energy fields and so forth work that may work better than others, which is why we have a basic, what we call fundamental, beginning protocol, more advanced protocol that uses those basic physics ideas and starts at a basic place and moves up from there. But basically, it really is just about how you program your operating system of your energy field to behave. And if you focus on, wanting to have a turtle shell that is around you all the time, and you just focus on this turtle shell that's just always around you, you're thinking, oh, turtle shell, my turtle shell is always there. I'm always got my turtle shell. Like that becomes a psionic shield, becomes psionic shielding if it's something that you're putting energy into on a daily basis. Now, you don't have to obsess about your turtle shell all day. You just have to spend a few minutes every day in a meditative practice going, okay, let me think about my shields. And then cumulative, day after day, week after week, month after month after month. It's getting late. I'm getting hungry, going to need food soon. It gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and more resilient. So the more energy you put into it, the more time you put into it, because it's part of your psionic muscle, lifting weights, doing your workout is what makes that buff and strong. And if you stop, then it gets weak. If you keep doing it, it stays strong. That's really the secret to all of this, is consistency, regularity. If you are sporadic with any of this practice and you're having spotty results, that's your problem. That's your problem right there, is inconsistency. If you want consistent results, you have to have a consistent practice.
That makes sense, man. That makes sense. Okay. Healing methods and technology you had written down too as well. So do you share, is that something you will be teaching as well?
Yeah, we're actually, as I was saying before, we got to experience some pretty incredible healing protocols. We're doing our best to take that information and translate it into a guided meditation that, we'll really see what the impact is by sharing it with people. We're literally in the process of translating that into what we think the right physics are and should get the correct consequence. So it's going to be a fun experiment. Before we do your event, we have some clients that we're going to be testing, the process with. So we'll come to your event in December, having already tested it on some actual people to make sure that it's working properly and does something. We'll get feedback from people letting us know that it does something, but we'll find out just how effective it seems to be. But we're totally going to put that protocol together in a lesson that we can share with people. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. That was our plan, to do that.
So I haven't actually been briefed on what the plan was for the event. So do you already have your topic and set in stone?
I mean, basically what we think is probably the most relevant, important topic for that particular group of people.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, we figured, psionic self-defense, attacks, healing. That seems to be like what people who are having problems with need them sorted out the most, like good shielding and some recovery tools for, the psionic beating that they've been taking.
Stacey, I know I've been briefed. I'm just engaging in conversation. Don't bust my balls. All right, awesome. Okay, well, I'm excited for that. Okay, so I'm out of questions to ask, and that's not because I'm not interested. It's because I know a lot about you already, and I don't want to ask the same questions. Sure. And I can tell that going back into the past is something you don't really want to talk about, and you're birthing into this new vision, this new idea.
Way more excited.
But you still got some fans in the place that remember the things that you do, and they do want to talk about.
Sure. Like I said, people got questions. I don't mind answering questions.
Well, we'll get to that in the after chat afterwards. What I'm trying to say is I want you to tell me what you want to talk about. Let's talk about what you like. Let's talk about what makes you happy. Let's just go. Let's just give me something.
Well, okay, so here's what I'm the most excited about is that we're at a time and a place when we can do this and not get shut down for doing it because there's not just a demand, but a need that goes to the core of human survival. And there are certain things in which are being allowed and encouraged to flourish because they are about our very survival and because it can no longer be about control of something that people are afraid of because it will be their end and they know it. So there is some freedom that we actually have now to talk about and show and demonstrate things like this now that weren't necessarily true even 5 years ago, let alone 10, 15, or 20 years ago. But not even 5 years ago. So that's, I think, first of all, the exciting part is that we're in a very, very exciting time. And that is to say one of the craziest, most dangerous, most hectic, for some people, most nightmarish. There are some people in war zones right now that are in the true living hell of war zones on both sides. And because war is hell, just straight up, and especially the way we fight it down here most of the time, it's super gruesome and super ugly. So we're living in a crazy, difficult, insane, rough, hard, but incredibly opportunistic time because tremendous flux and change brings tremendous opportunity for us to actually fix some things. A rigid system, which we've had for many years, needs some shaking and some loosening so that some appropriate, fundamental, and healthy changes can be made. And the only way that's happening is in flux. And because there are enough people who their personal interest is outweighed by, well, Florida's going to be under an extra 24 inches of water within a couple of years or something. So that actually puts a lot of people's bankrolls on the line. And they're like, whoa, wait, now my money's at stake? Okay, let's work on this problem. Let's solve some stuff. So now that we've reached the level where the problem is affecting everybody, including the wealthy and the billionaire class, and they can't all just get in their own rocket ships and go to Mars as much as they'd like to, there are just some things that are allowed to happen while we're doing this. So it's a nutty time, but it is an absolutely fabulous opportunity for the best possible change ever. And unfortunately, there's going to be a rough moment continue to be some rough moments as we get through that. But I don't think as a planet, and I don't think as a species, that we've come this far just to go back to the Dark Ages. I really don't. I just don't think that's on our plate and on our calendar. So I think we're going to get through it. There's a lot of dedicated people who want to make sure that we get through it. There's a lot of effort being put into making sure that we get through this and do what we've always done. I mean, look at every civilization throughout history that's had an up or down, or a major disaster, or a major upset, or a major anything, what did they do? They rebuilt, right? Rome got sacked 4 times. 4 times, right, in history by the Visigoths and the Vagabonds, and I forget the other 2 right away, but 4 times Rome got sacked. What did they do? They fixed it, rebuilt, repaired everything. They didn't just abandon Rome and go, we got sacked, we have to stop civilization now. Ooh, boo. So we're going to do the same thing we do every other time, which is have a mess, clean it up, move on. And so I think in that opportunity is, in the moving on part, an opportunity to be finally involved as an intergalactic civilization with the rest of the galactic community so that we can participate. Because that participation changes us makes us think of our current enlightenment and information age as this pinnacle of our civilization, when really, once we understand the next level of civilization, we're going to realize, no. We just got out of the technological information computer dark ages and get to move into the technological information computer sophisticated ages and move forward again in a way that we're having a rough time seeing from where we are, because we're seeing it very problem oriented, not very solution oriented, but it will turn into a lot of solutions to a lot of problems, because that's what we do. And there's a lot of help that we're going to have in that rebuilding process, so that we get to actually rebuild with quality tools, quality materials. And I mean both like physically material and metaphorical materials, as far as how we rebuild society and how we rebuild infrastructure, and what bureaucracy looks like, and what's functional civilization versus dystopian dysfunctional civilization, and using tools that are really fundamentally about civilized civilization being the order of the day for the next 1,000, 10,000 years for us. So I see a lot of work that's going into making sure that happens. And I have more faith in those people than I believe in the chances of the people who want to destroy that and turn it into something super fascistic. I just, that's my point of view from where I see it from data that I've seen. So I think that's exciting. Presuming it works out that way, of course. That's me being super optimistic. If somehow it doesn't work out that way, whoops, I'm wrong, then maybe it won't be as wonderful and awesome and great. But I think there's a lot of people putting a lot of effort and a lot of work to make sure that it is, because we have the reason so much of this is not even predictable. It's been inevitable, because there are a number of things which are completely unsustainable that are all coming to a head. And as those unsustainable things come to a head, we have 2 choices. Turn them into something sustainable, or have utter and complete collapse. And as much as paranoid people want to talk about the inevitability of utter and complete collapse, even the wealthiest, most powerful human beings on planet Earth don't want that. They lose too much money with utter collapse. They don't want that. They don't want the population down at 3 billion. They lose too much money. They don't want to kill everybody off. They lose too much money. They don't want civilization to collapse. They lose too much money. They don't want the banking system to collapse. They lose too much money. The people who are motivated on making the profits of the civilization have no intention of letting it collapse, fall apart, and the entire worker tax consumer base, which is where they make all their money, to disappear. It's not what they want. So even in the worst, most dystopian scenario, there's still going to be a lot of people here, and we're still going to move on in some way, because those people still want us here, because that's how they make all their money. So I think there's a better outcome than that. But I don't believe any of the doom and gloom outcomes, because it's just not what the most powerful people in the world want or need. They don't necessarily want, but they realize they need So they want us to be around because they need us, but not because they like us, but they need us.
But in order for us to do the things that they need us to do, we need to be happy. And there's not a lot of that happening to encourage us to continue to do, because
right.
we're also revolted.
Which is why we have to change the whole thing so that people can be contented in the participation of civilization, and it can all function and everyone actually gets to benefit, instead of the just pushing, all the money resources to the top thing, which we've done. We do it every once in a while on this planet, and it never goes well. It always tips over, but we just have to balance it out and just make it this much more fair. This much.
You got to find the unity. You got to find the whole. But it helps if we know what the end game is too. Right. Which we don't know.
The end game is different for different people. Groups of people have a different idea about what they want the end game to be, and we're going to all have a kerfuffle about it and see how it works out. Whoever wins the world war gets to decide. So just pray it's not Nazis.
So yeah, well, so on the saying, great power comes great responsibility. To use that in for context, if someone were to develop or enhance their brain power, all right, use these skills and become more smarter, as you say, would the increased intelligence would feeling still be involved, to the point that when their intelligence is higher, they might make negative or bad decisions because they were hurt? Or do you think with a higher IQ and intelligence, they're incapable of doing harm and be more naturally involved to do good? So how would that help the vibration of the people changing their thought process whenever they get into negative thoughts?
Sure. I think basically the answer to both of those questions is no. And so let me try and explain what I think the actual answer is. So when you're talking about innate intelligence, like some people are born with really high IQs and some people are born with lesser IQs. And then there's a lot of room in between for nurture to play a role in people who have also either higher or lower. What family you're raised in can lower or raise your IQ, right? On how you're treated, how you're talked to, food, healthy environments in so many different ways, not just what you're eating, but emotional, psychological relationships, education, all of these things that all of the studies and research show all matters, right? That people who grow up in environments where they have healthy stimulus from all these avenues are the most functional, well-adjusted people, and people who have all the absences and things missing in these areas are the most dysfunctional, fucked up people. That's pretty clear. So innate intelligence that sort of comes out of that environment also can come out in a number of different ways as far as ethical, moral programming, so forth. But the process of self-understanding, the process of self-work, the process of making yourself smarter, your brain stronger, it's not just about doing an exercise that makes your brain smarter, right? Your brain is your subconscious, your conscious. Your subconscious is everything. It's all the things you think, feel, so forth. Your own processes will become barriers to progress, which is why we have all these other classes and programs to talk about, okay, so here's the basics, do this. Here's a basic discipline, do that. Having trouble? Okay, now let's talk about all the things that hang people up. And emotional self-mastery is like the first one. Where are people at in their emotional growth, their emotional development? How do they relate to others? How do they deal with people in relationships? Are they healthy, functional people? Are they not healthy, functional people? Because it turns out that when you're moving past innate intelligence on development, there are things that your brain, your subconscious, your higher self, and other aspects of yourselves, which is a complicated topic, but there's more than just one or two, but it's a whole self at the same time. all of that guides the process, so that, people who have super selfish, self-interested, not being good to other people intentions will impede their own progress with those attitudes. We're not talking about just how do you go out and make money in the world. We're talking about how do you do something like personal, mental, psychological, emotional, mind, body building, self-mastery development. There actually requires some balance in all of that for it to work right. So most of the ways in which people in the military are trained who are not trained in that way, first of all, don't learn the skills very well, right? They're sort of forced to learn the skills in a way in which they don't necessarily understand how they learned it. They can't necessarily repeat it, but it's more like a snapping your fingers or blowing a whistle to a dog that causes them to have the response to do the skill that you've trained or you've really conditioned them to do. You haven't trained them to do that psionic skill. You've conditioned them to do that psionic skill, and that's not the same thing. When you are on a path of self-mastery, you are conditioning and training and teaching your mind-body experience how to be a better person so that you can do all of those things. And through that process, more often than not, I'm not saying 100% of the time, but more often than not, a person who wants to develop those skills and develop those abilities will have to work their shit out and just become a better human being to accomplish that goal, to accomplish that task. If they really want to accomplish that truly self-mastered, psionically capable person, because of whatever motivates us there, the path there is you got to work some shit out to get there, or those things will block you from actual functional performing abilities. So a person's not likely to become a dangerous person because they're not going to be able to do much, because they're not going to be able to develop past a point of like a really mentally unhealthy, psychopathic, sociopathic person who wants to become a Sith Lord. It's going to be a lot harder in real life to do that.
So what if there was intent? What if I was a bad guy and I come across your course and my goal was to learn how to be a smarter bad guy? If I did the course as it's done, would I be a bad guy out of it, or would I just learn to not be a bad guy anymore and inside?
Depends on how much of the work you want to do. If you want to do a little bit of work just to be a little bit smarter, then you can probably become this much smarter of a bad guy. But if you do any of the work because you want to be a really smarter guy, at some point you're going to have a conversation about rethinking your life. Because you're going to realize that there are all these things that are affecting you, your reality, what you're manifesting psionically, and they come from actions, choices. And you're going to have to decide, do I want to live in a world, in a reality where I'm really creating all this shit around me by being a bad guy? Because that's what's happening. If all the stuff that's happening around me is self-created because I'm putting that out into the world, or do I want to actually create stuff for myself, even as a self-interested person, right? I'm not taking away a person's ability to be self-interested in this situation. But if you're truly self-interested in a way that understands the physics and the mechanics of it, you'll be a better person, because that's actually how you get better results.
So the reason why I asked that is because I think it would be almost impossible for someone to be able to do something bad and evil because of increased brain power, because then you understand, you become smart, you become all-knowing in many aspects, and you start to realize that the things that you're feeling and the anger and everything that's been built up inside is caused by these other things, and then you make smarter choices to heal yourself, and therefore it negates it.
Well, and by doing psionic muscle brain building, mind building, you're also making your field more sensitive to what's happening. You feel and hear and sense what's happening with other people, and people who have a disconnect with, not caring what they do to other people. All of a sudden you start to feel more what you're doing to that other person. You go, oh, I did that thing that I normally do, but now I feel kind of bad about it because I feel that person felt bad about it, and I could feel how bad they felt about it, and that made me feel a little bad about it. Oh, now I got to go home and rethink my life. So yeah, I think the natural process is people will, if they're really doing it, even if they're doing it just to get psionic superpowers, the pathing is you got to sort some shit out. And when you sort that shit out, you just tend to be a better person to get the positive results. It's just what has to happen. You kind of can't be a terrible person and get the results because you're not working the shit out that's going to move the blockages that are impeding skill development and showing skill, like actually doing the skill, showing performance and development and tracking of that skill so that it increases, which is what we teach people how to do that if you're blocked up, you're not going to be able to do that. And if you're really holding all that crap in from kind of being a terrible person, you're blocking yourself. You can build that brain and you can build that mind, but if you're blocking everything energetically, psychologically, you're impeding your process and your progress, and you're not going to accomplish much. You're not going to be able to get psions per second outputs that are threatening or dangerous. You just become, I guess, maybe a slightly smarter, more self-actualized asshole. But if you really do the work, at some point, you're just going to have a conversation with yourself, like, what's really serves me here? Is it really serving me to be this person? Or is there really just a better way to do this and not have all the shitty consequences? Or, do I like the drama? Do I like being an asshole? Do I like having screaming fights with people? But maybe that's not healthy for me. Maybe it's giving me ulcers. Maybe it's like, affecting my sleep at night. Or maybe I'm starting to hear and feel how it affects other people energetically, psionically, and I don't want to feel like that anymore, that I'm affecting those people that way. I think the process naturally curves towards being a just better person. That's and we'll say super generic. What does that mean? A better person? Golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Like, treat people like you want to be treated. Just that's a better person, right? So that would just lean a person more towards the direction of, do unto others and treat people like you want to be treated, instead of some other dysfunctional, messed up way of behavior.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to get more information about your courses so we can talk about other ones. I had to sign up for your newsletter, and I did. But then now I'm here, and I can't see your courses until I buy. So I understand the marketing pitch, but can you give me a little bit here to encourage me on, so I do click that button?
Yeah, we literally just got this up today. I said, we changed our mind about this 24 hours.
You got me to subscribe, but it was hope I subscribed because I wanted to see the courses, and I don't see the customer of the courses. So on your customer journey, I'm thinking, nope.
Okay, cool. Let's work this out. Tell me what information you would like to see there that tells you what's behind the door, so that we can change that, put that up there so that people can see it. I want people to understand what's behind there, what they're getting. That's a basic list of the stuff. But what do you want to see? You want to see more than that? You want to see something bigger?
For me, honestly, I don't want to see the coming soon. I want to see that done.
That's the beginning course. So that's the beginning course. It's like almost 30 lecture videos that we have together, put together, laid out step by step. So let's see. I'll try and see if we can get a spot where you can click or look at something and see what the list of lectures in the beginning course is.
Okay, so here's something here: monthly class Q&A Zoom session with teachers. So is that teacher just you, or are there other teachers?
Oh no, that's Kendra and I. We'll sit here and have an open Q&A twice a month, and people can ask whatever.
Okay.
Any questions they have about classwork, coursework, we'll answer it. We'll do we'll do 2 a month. We'll do another one. They can be open Q&A. People can ask any question about anything they want, and we'll answer it.
Okay, well, sell me on this newsletter. How rad is this newsletter?
Well, I'm going to get to say things that I don't get to say anywhere else right now because I don't want people to be mad at me. So we'll explain some things about like what's actually occurring in the world in ways that I know a lot of people are confused about and don't really understand. But our goal there is going to be to try to provide some actual clarity. But it's there's a lot happening, and so there's definitely stuff to put in there that I don't want necessarily to put in a video because I don't necessarily want that level of attention to saying something in a video versus putting something in a print newsletter that gets more ignored and is less important. You know what I'm saying there? You get what I'm my drive there, but okay. Yeah.
Intellectual property. 2. All right, man. Well, we made it to the 2-hour mark.
So, okay, I mean, I'll tell you what this is. The beginning course, I'll give you a quick outline of that. So the beginning course is a section on basics of meditation. So we're talking about the brain waves, what meditation really is scientifically. We talk about what that means, what the mind is scientifically, how to break down what meditative states are as consciousness states, as brainwave states. We talk about so psionic foci, these are your centers. Everybody likes to call them chakras. We don't because we're sciencey. So your psionic foci, we have a in-depth breakdown that Kendra did a beautiful job on about what they are, what they do, how they affect you, why it's important to understand what they do and what they are, and what part of that consciousness and your whole mind-body experience and how that affects you and why that's important and what to do about that, how to keep that clear, exercises for keeping that clear, focused, balanced, whole section on that. Psionic self-defense, what is that? Why do you need it? Here's a basic protocol. And basic overview on manifesting, guided meditations, also theta states, psionic self-defense, anchoring and grounding, the foci clearing one, some other stuff that I'm trying to remember off the top of my head that's in there, and a ton of stuff that's coming that is still just on its way. We're still transferring stuff over from the Teachable, so there's a few extra videos that are on the Teachable website that will also end up getting over there in the next few days here. So we're still transferring it all over. And it's just going to continue to grow. It is not a finite collection of information. All of the information that we have listed that's coming soon, we figure we'll have the rest of those courses put together before the end of the year. So that's all coming really soon. We're crunching that stuff up, and we're just going to crank it out in November and December here, and it's going to all be up super soon. Now we know what we're doing. We're cruising.
Okay. Normally we would do the after chat right now, but I don't want to break the conversation up because I just found this on your website. And what the fuck is this about? Alien invasion update.
Oh yeah.
What is that about?
Well, I'm trying to give everybody the update on the alien